I don't have anything open.
The heart of it, baby. I love that heartbeat, man. What a way to get happy. Welcome. Happy welcome to everybody. Welcome to Wisdom Wednesday, baby.
Let's go. Excited for another Nudelberg daily huddle. Excited for this Wednesday because you and I get to present together, which is exciting.
It is, I think it'll happen more and more. This was a specific request that somebody who was inbound for me said, is there any way that we can have both of you? And I said, there is. So, I think it's kind of neat that people pick up on our banter, how we work, how we laugh. And this was somebody who was at our kickoff and said, that was the most amazing presentation ever, which candidly it probably was. But, not to blow smoke up my own ass, it was great.
It was awesome. It was great. Tons of great content, and it's fun.
You and I were going. Yeah. I mean, I got to tell you, there was a moment where I sat down in that presentation in the conference room and watched you, and I was ready, like, let's go, coach. So we have that fun thing coming up. We have all of this major excitement in South Florida because it's going to break some records this weekend. They're talking about 35 degrees.
Yeah, it's going to be legitimately freezing. Watch out for the falling iguanas.
And I'm less than you guys, so I drop 3 or 4 degrees less than east. So.
It's cold.
To me, it's absolutely berserk that they're saying Canada is shooting the weather down. Just a straight shot to us. So it will be interesting because Saturday night I have the JA Uncorked event, which is like no other. It's food and wine and da-da-da-da-da. It's January 29th, so I still can't drink, but I can eat. So it will be...
so you won't be uncorked, is what you're saying.
The cork in. The cork will
be fully corked.
What's interesting is I looked at my calendar review of January, all the events I've been at that have had booze at the core of it, and I have remained true. So watch out because Sunday, even though it's January 30th, we'll be watching some football and maybe we could have a sip of something or other.
Yeah, got to. I mean, it's breaking the day early.
Great. I feel healthy. I feel charged up. I'm ready to go. We have a absolute packed content show today. Shay, give me some wake up music and let's get the ball rolling.
Wake up, everybody! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Wake up! Come on! Come on! Wake up, everybody! Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody! No more sleeping in bed. No more about to thinking, time for thinking ahead. Come on now.
Okay, before we get going, it's Wisdom Wednesday. It's our promise every Wednesday that you learn something. We got lots coming up. We're going to talk about more headlines. But we got a lesson in how to operate yesterday. We have been trying to contact somebody. Let's leave the subject matter out of but we needed to get in touch with this person. And it seemed very distant. We would email, a week would go by, they would email back. It was crazy. Both you and I said to Shay, pick up the phone, bing, bing, bing. Shay, how was the conversation?
Pleasant. It was very nice.
Yes. Well, and the other point of it is it wasn't just that there was these big gaps in between correspondence. It was also very vague in what was happening. And there was a problem that needed to be solved, and nobody was really sure if the problem was getting solved. And so I finally was just like, let's just talk And if we talk, then we'll be able to get on the same
And a
page
lot
and
of
figure out whether or
times
not
when you
it's happening.
request that certain information, like they'll give it like a bullet point, like this and this are happening or coming or whatever.
But so that's the lesson, is that they didn't communicate really well through email. They're not good email communicators.
Right.
So great. That's on us then. It's now our responsibility to figure out what the best way they do communicate is so we can get the questions answered. It's exactly the same as the conversation I had yesterday with one of the leaders that I'm working with. They're working with somebody underneath them who's got major trust issues. I said, the fact that they have trust issues, not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Because if they don't ever trust you, you guys are never going to be able to get done what you need to get done. So even though they got problems that weren't your fault and you didn't cause them, you got to get to the root of them and get to what really works for you guys, which is all just about a conversation. It's all just about how you communicate. And if you can find the right way to communicate with people, you get shit done.
You get shit done. And it got done yesterday. So thank you for all involved. Thank you, Shay, for grabbing the bull by the horn. So fantastic. Got to shift gears. First of all, Paul Chattel, that's a brilliant one.
Wait, did you see him send the neon noodle note?
Yeah, he's great.
He sent the Deion Sanders thing. And Neon noodle.
He's shooting out lasers in the morning, man. Nice job, man. Thank you for being on the ride. So, in the world of headlines and people who just don't get it right, what is up with baseball? So David Ortiz gets in yesterday. Everybody's doing this. Hey, Greg, congratulations. David Ortiz took PEDs. And then, Shay, please give me an update on all of the great talent in baseball. Go.
Yeah. So obviously Ortiz gets in. You have Clemens, all-time leader in Cy Young awards, most ever, doesn't get in. Bonds, leader in home runs, doesn't get in. And of course, Pete Rose is the most notable one. Bet on baseball, but all-time hits leader, didn't get in. Pete Rose, I can see. Clemens, I can see. But Bonds, I mean, the most difficult thing to do in sports ever is putting a 2-inch ball on a 2-inch barrel and coming in at 95 plus miles an hour and hitting it out. So, yeah. Because it's funny, you put, there was a video the other day, like a college basketball team went out and like was training with the baseball team and they were just throwing not even hard, like 86 miles an hour. Just couldn't even touch it.
Yeah.
You know, it's the most difficult thing to do.
So it seems ridiculous. Seems ridiculous to me that the Hall of Fame. So I want to share a comment. Roger Clemens commented on this through Twitter, but it's so relevant to why we do what we do. My family and I put the Hall of Fame in the rearview mirror 10 years ago. I didn't play baseball to get into the Hall of Fame. I played to make a generational difference in the lives of my family, then focus on winning championships while giving back to my community and the fans as well. Job well done. Baseball, boom.
It's awesome.
You know, why do you do what you do? You want to be the top salesman in the world? Big shit. It's, okay. I think it's ridiculous to go into the Hall of Fame and walk down the halls and know that the greatest talented people are not there. I think it's fallacy.
It's what I talked about in my post with Bowden yesterday. I celebrated a Florida legend. He didn't do it for the accolades and the wins he did it because he was passionate about developing young men. And that's what made him successful. And that's a big conversation with me when I talk to, salespeople or even leaders. Like I had this conversation with somebody else yesterday who was like, well, we're all here to make money. And I said, newsflash, dude, if that's going to be your message to the squad, everybody's walking out immediately. You can't make it about making money because not everybody's there to make money. Some people will. Some people will be money driven, but you got to connect it to a bigger purpose. And so if your value structure, your value proposition, or the way you go to market is about the actual, widget that you're dead before you even get out there. If you're selling copiers, your goal can't be to sell copiers. It should be to make people's lives easier in the office with great printing, or there's got to be something better. We talked about it with Weston Jewelers. They deliver joy, right? Like there's got to be a bigger purpose. It can't be about the widget, the service, or saving people money.
And to touch one more thing on the Hall of Fame, so a
Shay,
lot of people
take it over. Just one
more thing, and then I'm getting out.
You allowed 2 sentences in the show notes. Where are you going?
So a lot of the players, they don't trust reporters, which are the baseball writers are the ones that vote, and they've been getting it wrong for years. So there's that thing. So they're not
unreal. It's not like they're gonna die on the sword for this cause because it makes no sense.
Here's what's so great about the show notes. I sent that we were going to talk about baseball, and Shay goes, "Do I get a chance?"
One more point. One more point. If you turn in a blank ballot, like don't come back.
Well done, Shay.
Way to go, Shay.
For Shay this morning.
So we like to talk about what national day it is. Today is National Green Juice Day, I love the whole fact of green juice. It happens to be chapter 5 in my book.
That's really well done. Excellent.
Can't even keep a straight face. So one of the reasons why I wrote it in was years ago, there started to be this green juice phase or fad. I tried it. I was like, it's god awful. I don't know how anybody drinks this stuff. But then I realized what it did to me. It made me feel good. Gave me that energy. It was like pouring gasoline into my engine. And so when I wrote about it, I said it's an acquired taste, but it's part of my morning routine. It's part of how I conquer. Today, I took blueberries, blackberries, kale, banana, almond milk. Boom, in the number 1 appliance in the world, the NutriBullet, and off you go. So, Jeremy, I do have a published book.
So a new addition to the green juice for me is there's like green protein powders now. So there's protein powders that aren't whey or casein protein. They're actually made up of kale, peas, all these vegetables to get you to the same protein level. So now my post-workout shakes are with green protein, which then it doesn't matter what I put in the shake. I've got green protein in it.
Mickey, I know it's hard to believe, but I wrote a book.
Kudos to the crowd for getting involved and really just being a part of this.
By the way, Mark, when your book is published, you are full on fodder for me, man. I'm gonna tell me about your book. So anyway, speaking of authors, I follow Seth Godin all the time. Almost every day he's putting out something that is a trigger for me to think, takes me down a rabbit hole, which is what I love. And
every day.
Some of it's worth sharing. Some of it's not. Something you just got to internalize. But he posted something about a week ago about the phrase soon, coming soon. So my question to you, Mark, when is soon? What even is that?
So it builds anticipation for sure. But for me, when I think, and I read his blog post that day about it, and I thought it was really great, but soon is nebulous to me, right? It's almost like early for you. Like when you say soon is never, soon is, I'll get to that soon. Gabby just really busted me this morning about something. She's like, you told me that you would get to that soon, which I now know means that that's never going to happen.
Right.
So,
thank you. So that's the point is soon is just a way to deflect it and leave it out in the ether. The way we talk about people on LinkedIn who don't really engage, they're space travelers. They're just out there. You're putting it out there. So soon is one of those words that you can delete from your vocabulary and own the time to do it. I will do this by next Friday. Create a deadline, own the deadline, say, do, boom, done.
So I think about when we used to go to the movie theater and you'd walk up to the movie theater and they had all of the posters, any movie poster that said coming soon, even if I was super interested in it, I'd be like, oh, well, I don't know when that is. Hopefully I'll see that at some point. when it had coming out July 27th, I'd be like, mark it on the calendar. We got to go see that. And I know exactly when it's coming. So the difference in coming soon, the way it created a timeline for me to be able to say, yes, I can go do that. You should do that for everybody.
So let's go to some motivational music. Then we got much more headlines, fun topics so far. Great stuff. Let me drink some of my green juice. Play one of my favorite bands, Electric Light Orchestra.
So good. So good. Like,
finding the song I want. I was committed to ELO today for whatever reason. And I went down, I listened to them live. I went all the way through it. There was so many songs I could have played that are relevant to what we talk about. But today, that song, Don't Bring Me Down, I just want you to think of how you show up to other people.
Yep.
Like, own that when you do the exercise I'm going to talk about next. I want you to think about how you show up to somebody, and if that's how you really want to do it. Shay, do you have the poll, the poll that was posted on LinkedIn? Thank you. So you imagine somebody posts this. How many cold calls do you make daily?
Yeah.
0, 1 to 50, 51 to 100, or 100. So first of all, the person who posted this, look at how you're showing up in the LinkedIn world.
Yep.
Doesn't work for me. Okay. So then let's say you are making cold calls. Mark, is that an advantage or a disadvantage in terms of how you show up?
I would say it's a disadvantage, completely a disadvantage.
And can you expand? Because I have a whole tirade on it. So
sure, it's the interrupting method, right? And it's what I spoke about at the end of last year when I did the Future of Sales talk. Cold call, the tactic, was invented because that was the only way you could get to somebody. Like, I'm watching Mad Men again, which it's so good to go back and watch.
Brilliant, by the way. Brilliant, even better now than was when it was produced about a different era.
So there was a whole conversation about a salesman coming into the house, right? His wife lets the salesman in. He's an AC salesman. And he like freaks out. He's like, you let somebody in the house? And she's like, salespeople go into people's houses all day, every day. Why? Because that was the only way you could have the conversation. There was no other way. It was the phone or it was showing up at the door. So it made sense then. Same thing with the phone and cold calls. It made sense when that was the only way. We still continue to push the same tactic. Let me move that into a sports reference for you, right? When I was a little kid, we did tackling drills. At 10 years old, we would line up and run full speed into each other as fast as we could so that we could learn to tackle. Guess what? Nobody does that anymore because it doesn't make sense. And there's new information that has proven that to be a disadvantage to the people and to the team. Why does that not resonate with people's brains? It's not that the phone doesn't work. We just talked about how the phone worked for us. But the phone worked because there was a purpose behind it. Somebody knew who we were already. They already knew what we were going to talk about. So using the phone as a tool in your toolkit that leverages the other things you do makes perfect sense. Using the phone as a cold call like you did in 1976, I'm not sure why you're still doing something that you did 50 years ago.
So I have people call me and they go, hey, my outbound sales are really suffering. I've got an inside sales team. All they do is spend all day on the phone. I go, you just answered your own question while you're talking to me. They're idiots, man. Sitting there trying, hello, who answers the phone? When I spoke in Atlanta in May, which was like the first live event in a while, I had 130 CEOs. I stood up and said to them, hello, let me ask you a question. If I called any one of you on your cell phone, would you answer the phone? Not one person raised their hand. Right. I said, yet all of you are going to go back to your company and endorse a cold calling strategy. I'm like, right. Ridiculous. So this whole idea of, by the way, pay attention to what it's called, a cold call, means cold. There's nothing, there's no warmth, there's nothing wrapping your arms around it. So the fact that people are still talking about a cold calling culture, volume over quality, okay, go at the buffet, eat all the shit you want to and tell me how you feel. So here's the reason for the song, Don't Bring Me Down. I do not want to put myself in a position where I am jumping into your world and interrupting you. It's not going to do it. Cold. Hey, I'd like to talk to you about blah, 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 blah. Ridiculous. It just seems ridiculous. You tell it to people. And so here's the thing. I spoke to a CEO yesterday who's about to jump on board with me, and it's great. And I said to her, I go, do you like to be sold? She goes, oh, no. I go, do you know when you're being sold? Oh, absolutely. I go, then why would we endorse that strategy? Why are we teaching people to sell? It doesn't make any sense to me. And then you got people putting out there, how many are you doing? My temptation is to eat that guy alive.
I want to shout out to Hayden, because Hayden had taken a job in an organization that required him to cold call all day, every day. And he reached out to me and he was like, dude, I'm like, this is eating at me. This sucks. This is terrible. So I had a whole conversation with him on how he could spin the activity to at least try to make it as advantageous as he could to him by doing some research first, trying to do something to show up in their world, and then using that cold call as a tool to leverage what he had already done, or use some information that he'd already gotten to have that conversation with. And he had success after that because he changed his perspective on it. But it's still an inefficient tool. Like I ask people, I say, what are your major tactics right now? They say, well, we spend, X amount of time on the phone. I said, what's your return on that? How many people are you actually having conversations with? And I get 2 or 3 out of 100. 2 or 3 out of 100. Like, what? If you get 100 personalized LinkedIn connection requests, do you know how many responses you get? You get a minimum of 50. Minimum.
So here's what's really crazy is that there is a better way. So if there's a better way, it's up to us to not wait. Oh, I'll worry about that soon. No, you got to worry about that now. You got to look at the new tools. And by the way, much more engaging, much more fun. The problem from a leadership standpoint is when you put people into cold calling, they burn out fast. The rotation of people in and out of. Why do we have such turnover? Because you got people doing stupid shit that they can't sustain.
And so if it's about, it's talent, right? You could have talented people that you ask to do this thing. You're letting talented people walk out the door because you're asking them to do a tactic that doesn't develop any of the skills they actually need to be good at in order to be successful. And I'm going to combat everything that everybody's going to say right now. Well, it's overcoming the fear. It's overcoming that bullshit. It's not the fear about getting on the phone. It's the fear of being an asshole to somebody else because you're doing something to them that you don't want done to you. That's what the fear is.
Don't bring me down. Don't put me in that place. So unbelievable conversation. Anybody that wants to have a conversation with me about this stuff, please do. But I would be remiss if I don't close today's show with a shout out to Jessica Lawler, that's how I know her. It's Jessica Johnson now. Jessica is Dorcas's sister. So I worked with Jessica at Dex. She brought Dorcas to the party. Dorcas's business has exploded since she's done some work with us, stayed in the Huddle. She's gone from 2 employees to 22 employees, blowing up. Jessica reached out and said her boss wants to talk to us about how to move from a cold calling structure to this. So how appropriate. Shout out to Dorcas. Shout out to Jessica. And here's the thing. You never know. February 2020, her boss, Mike, saw me present in Tampa. I was pre-COVID, saw me present. And just recently, they were having a lead gen conversation. And here's the thing, McFly, it's not working. What can we do? Oh, I remember that guy had an alternative. So look at the alternative.
So can I leave the show with the value structure for any sales organization? This is what I believe should be the value prop of your sales organization. It should be a personalized digital experience that creates human connection and lasting relationships. If your salespeople are armed with the vision of it's a digital experience that creates human connection and lasting relationships, guarantee you find success in today's sales world.
And if you want more success, buy my book.
Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million